Hello everyone and welcome back to another action movie recommendation. Today I'm going to head into more obscure territory by reviewing a movie that not a lot of people know about. And before I start, let's talk a little bit about action star Mark Dacascos. Mark Dacascos was one of the many martial artists / actors of the early 90s who was poised to be the next big thing in action. Following his contemporaries like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal and Brandon Lee, Dacascos was a professional martial artist with a tremendous physique, a striking screen presence, and a wry sense of humour. However, he never really achieved the success of Van Damme and the like, and I think it's because his talent was sort of wasted with a bunch of mostly forgettable films. A good example is the 1994 video game-based movie Double Dragon, which was my first exposure to Mark Dacascos. And then I saw him in Kickboxer 5, which I also thought was pretty forgettable. However, I did like Mark Dacascos himself, and I felt he had plenty of talent, but it was being wasted. However, several years ago I came across a review on YouTube for the movie Drive, and no, not the Ryan Gosling one. Now the review was by Rambo Raff for Life, and from what he said and from the clips I saw, it looked and sounded amazing, and I immediately had to track this movie down on DVD. And when I did, I was just blown away by it. And then I saw two other films with Mark Dacascos, Only the Strong from 1993 and Crying Freeman from 1995. Both of them are good and I plan on reviewing them in the future. However, for now, I would just like to take some time to talk about one of the greatest action movies of the 90s that almost nobody talks about. And it's a shame because this movie could have been huge if it had the right marketing. So, let's dig into this late 90s cult classic. This is Drive. Mark Dacascos is Toby Wong, a man on the run from gangsters who want him captured so they can obtain an experimental artificial heart which he has in his chest. He runs into Malik, played by Kadeem Hardison, who is just an innocent bystander, but he ends up joining Toby to help him deliver the artificial heart to an LA contact before the gangsters can get their hands on it and put it to bad use. Drive is one of those movies where the plot just serves as a reason to show off some cool action scenes. But that's okay, if you have plenty of other elements to add as well, then it doesn't really matter. And Drive has lots of great elements. Mark Dacascos and Kadeem Hardison are a perfect team as they have lots of chemistry, and the humour from Kadeem works well because it complements Mark's mostly serious performance in the film, although there are some moments where he too can be funny. We also get some rather amusing villains played brilliantly by John Piper Ferguson and Tracy Walter. These two guys are priceless because they are seriously just like Looney Tunes villains, and seeing that the film doesn't take itself too seriously, these two fit really well into the movie. And we also get the late great Brittany Murphy in this movie. Her character is kind of annoying, but it's hard to really hate her in this film. I don't know why, but I guess it's because she's so cute. Now, aside from the actors, the other star of this film are the action scenes, which I have to give credit to director Steve Wang and his fight choreographer. Now, Steve Wang had previously directed Guyver 2 Dark Hero, which showed an impressive amount of top-shelf fight choreography, so it was no surprise that he was hired for the Drive project. And while I love Guyver 2, I have to be honest, on a technical level, Drive is a superior film. The action is so well choreographed, my mind feels like it's about to explode. It's all in wide angle and very fast, but not so fast that you can't follow what's going on. The fights take place in various locations. You get a fight on a boat, in a bar, a quarry, a motel, and a nightclub called Apollo 14. And each action scene just gets bigger as the film goes along. And there is an impressive use of models and miniatures used throughout the film which you wouldn't believe are models because they are so well detailed and implemented seamlessly into the film. Now, I'm praising this film a lot, and some of you must be thinking, well, surely there must be some issues with it, right? Well, yes, my issue is that it never got a sequel. Okay, all kidding aside, I honestly don't have many issues with this film. There is a couple of green screen shots in the end which don't really hold up, but I've seen worse. And the plot, I'll admit, isn't really anything amazing. But it doesn't really matter. This film is all about action and likable characters, and the plot is just there to hold those elements in place. And it works well enough. But if you're not into these kinds of action films, which would beg the question, why are you even watching this review? then you're probably not going to like it. Drive was made on a $3.5 million budget, and honestly, it looks like it cost a lot more. A lot of people who I've shown this movie to did not believe it only cost $3.5 million to make. They said it looked more like a $30 or $40 million production. And that makes Drive a good example of how to use a budget efficiently when making an action movie, and it should be shown to film students because of those reasons alone. But also, I think it's a great film overall. Now let's get to answering the big question on this film. Why has almost no one ever heard of it? Why did it go straight to home video and DVD instead of getting a cinematic release? Well, according to director Steve Wang, the film got stuck in a political mess with investors, and despite numerous successful screenings and positive feedback and an offer from Dimension Films, it was decided that the film be recut, rescored, and released direct to video and DVD. Which is a real shame because if you think about it, Drive could have been the original Rush Hour, in a sense that it came out before that film, and had a similar premise with a martial arts expert teamed up with a fast-talking wise guy. Now, I like Rush Hour, but I honestly think Drive is more impressive. And don't get me wrong, I love Jackie Chan's stuff, but if you were to ask me which film I prefer, Drive or Rush Hour, I'll have to say Drive. It just feels bigger and has a no-holds-barred attitude that I really admire. Now, if you're going to purchase this movie, I strongly recommend that you get the director's cut version of the film, which comes on the UK Special Edition DVD. The director's cut basically adds more action scenes and puts in a better musical score. But the DVD also has tons of extra features that provide some really good insight into the making of the film and how it came to be. Now, before I get to the verdict on the film, I would like to quickly talk about Mark Dacascos again and what he's been up to recently. Mark is still acting to this day and has been having sort of a resurgence. He was the chairman in Iron Chef America, and most recently he has played Kung Lao in the web series Mortal Kombat Legacy. And at 51 years old, he is in unbelievably great shape. But hey, you know what would be cool? A sequel to Showdown Little Tokyo with him and Dolph Lundgren. That would be awesome, and maybe they could get Isaac Florentine to direct it too. So overall, I highly recommend Drive. It's a high-octane, well-acted and directed action film. Overall, I'm going to give this movie the perfect score, 5 out of 5. Well, that's my review of Drive, folks. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.